afternoon, everybody. Here. I didn't realize we're live, but good afternoon. I'm trying to fix my feed here, so bear with me 1 second. I thought I was fixing this before I went live. We got some lighting issues we're dealing with. We still break in the new studio. I guess we'll just deal with them for the moment here. We got this one little issue going on. You see the dugout down there, right? There we go. I got it. Anyway, good afternoon, everybody. Good to have you today for TGI Sports Talk's MLB update. Again, we're playing around with some technical stuff. Dave Guyette, good afternoon. Our number one Yankee fan. Yankees, this week started out so good for the Yankees. At least this series with Baltimore started out good for the Yankees and pretty quickly turned to crap the last couple of nights, Dave. So sorry that that's how it turned out. But you know what? We're going to get into we'll get into some scores. We'll look at some news. We'll look at the All-Star Game rosters and replacements. They're probably up to 70 players now. Who the heck knows? I don't know. We'll talk about whether the time is, for All-Star Games is passed. And we'll talk with the standings and we'll look at the schedules coming up. And we got the second half. Trading deadline's coming up soon, so buckle up is all I can say, right? It's coming. It's coming. What do we have going on last night? Let's look real quick at the Major League Baseball up scoreboard, if you will. Yankees, as I said, just steamrolled by the Orioles 14-1. This game got out of hand early. Severino just gets hammered. Yankees show no life at all. I have to tell you, in this game, I was very disappointed. A couple things. Severino doesn't get out of the second inning, gives up 7 runs. Doesn't get out of the third inning, gives up 7 runs. But then Abreu comes in, and I don't know if he's ticked off he's in the game that he's in. But he did not want to be on the mound last night. Totally disinterested in being out there. Didn't pitch well. 2/3 of an inning, 4 hits, 3 walks, a home run, and he gives up 6 runs in that 2/3 of an inning. In a game where the Yankees really need him to eat up some innings. The lone bright spot for the Yankees is IKF pitches again, gives up no runs. His ERA lowered now to 2.25. Gunnar Henderson with a great night last night. 5 RBIs, 2 home runs, 4 for 7. Guess the other interesting part of this is Baltimore manager Hyde gets thrown out of the game. He said it's the first time he's ever been thrown out of a game with a 2-touchdown lead. What do Yankees need to do trade-wise? I'm not sure, Dave. We're going to jump into that here, and I'll talk about it now since we're talking about the Yankees, and I'll talk about it more as we get into the show. They're limited in what they can do, Dave. They need a left fielder. They need a third baseman because Donaldson, I would be shocked if Donaldson doesn't get released after the All-Star break or during the All-Star break. They're giving him one last shot here. Maybe he gets the weekend, but he's not getting it together. What did he do last night? And they need pitching. I know Rendon goes tonight, but I don't hold out any faith that he's going to stay healthy. I was not happy with the signing before he got hurt. I'm on record as saying that. Donaldson 0 for 3 last night, down to 144, 218 on base percentage. He does have a 456 slugging percentage because he's got like 8 hits and 6 of them are home runs. I can't keep putting him out there every night, and I think he may get the weekend and he'll be out of here. So they need a third baseman, or DJ's got to come back and step it up. I'm putting all the blame on Donaldson. DJ's been just as bad over the last month. And what are you going to do, though, Dave? Are we going to trade the kids? I'm not trading Peraza. I'm not trading Cabrera. Certainly not trading Dominguez, and we know Volpe is not getting traded. Don't want to trade Schmidt. So that leaves me really, my one trade chip that I can see is Glaber. And I'm probably not getting a top left fielder. I'm not getting a top third baseman. I'm not getting a top level pitcher. But if I'm the Yankees, I trade Glaber for a third baseman or a left fielder or an arm. I'll bring up Peraza, play him at second base, or play him at shortstop and move Volpe to second base. Peraza is the better fielder. I think it's going to be very tough for the Yankees to make a major deal here. There's no, I've heard some talk about them bringing Scherzer over. Unless the Mets are eating all the money, no. Unless it's for a song, no. If I get him for, let's just say this. All I have to do is pick up the rest of this year's money, give up secondary minor leaguer, then maybe I'll bring Scherzer over here for half a season and see if he can catch fire. He's pitched better recently, both him and Verlander. But I'm not giving up any major asset. And I'm not going to let myself get opted into for $43 million next year by him. So he's going to have to waive that option, which he's not going to do. Or the Mets got to agree to pick it up if he wants it. Reds win again last night. 5-4 over the Nationals. Nick Senzel playing well. He homered leading off the 10th to win this game. Also saved a run in the ninth inning to keep the game alive. Tigers roll over the A's, 9-0. Brewers 6-5 over the Cubs. Bellinger, 4 hits last night. Keep an eye on Cody Bellinger, Dave. We're talking about who the Yankees might bring in here and somebody won't cost a bundle. Cody Bellinger would look good in left field for the Yankees. He's had a resurgent year this year after a couple of really bad years with the Dodgers. The Cubs are falling out of the race quickly, and I think it's possible he'll be available for a good price. Blue Jays trying to stay alive here as well. They won 6-2 yesterday against the disappointing White Sox. Phillies streaking a bit again, 3-1 over the Rays. Cardinals 3-0 over the Marlins. Guardians 6-1 over the Royals. Guardians getting close to that 500 mark. Watch out. A lot of pitching and some good bats on this team. They're going to bounce back in the second half and maybe probably win that Central. The Twins might right the ship, but we'll see. The Rangers, the West leading Rangers, get beat by the Red Sox, who move back to 2 games over 500. Red Sox score 6 in the 7th inning. They win that game 10-6. The Mariners finally get to 500. Maybe they're going to catch fire here in the West. The West could be a real shootout in the American League going towards the finish line here. Because I believe the Rangers will continue to come back to the pack a little bit, as they have. The Mariners are getting better and getting more consistent, and the Astros are the Astros. They'll hit eventually. Second game of a doubleheader, the Blue Jays swept the White Sox 5-4. The Mets win their 5th in a row, undefeated in July. And you might say 5 in a row they won. And you say, so what? They have beaten the Diamondbacks and the Giants in those 5 games. Giants having a good year last year after a downturn last year. A lot of that team's a team that won 107 games last year. Diamondbacks are one of the best teams in the National League for most of the year. They lost Corbin Carroll last night, to an injury. He'll get an MRI today. We'll talk a little bit more about that. The Dodgers trying to hang close to the Diamondbacks. They win as well. Excuse me. Over the Pirates, 5-2. What do you got here, Dave Guyette? Yeah, maybe it's time. You think, Dave? Let me tell you something. It was time to fire Cashman 7 years ago. At least when Girardi went. Brian Cashman keeps putting together the same team year after year. Teams that are elite in the regular season and can't win in the postseason. This team is not Aaron Judge getting healthy away from being a World Series contender. They need more. They need pitching. They need to fill about 3 holes in a lineup. It's just, ugh. We talked about Corbin Carroll getting hurt. He hurt his shoulder, and he'll miss the All-Star game, I'm sure. He left the game for the second time in a week. He'll have an MRI on that shoulder today, and we'll see what that is. I'm not sure what they think it is. Hyde gets ejected for the first time after leading by 2 touchdowns. What was he complaining about? He was arguing with Dan and Sonia. The umpire had warned both benches. Because he warned both benches after Wandy hit Jordan Westberg with a pitch. And it was just a weird situation. Game's out of control. I'm barely paying attention by that time. Tommy Edman goes on the DL. I will not say IL. With an wrist issue. If you watched during the game the other night, by the way, cameraman, Pete Stendel, very lucky, but he did suffer an orbital fracture. There was a wild throw from Volpe. I think it was from Volpe, wasn't it? It was Gunnar Henderson. It was the Orioles that were on the field. Trying to turn a double play. The ball sailed way over the first baseman's head, hit the cameraman right in the face, and he's got an orbital fracture. So he'll be down for a little bit. Could have been worse, so he's okay. Terry Francona back in the dugout after an illness has written the number 14 on his cap because he felt it necessary because nobody else was doing anything about this, honoring Larry Doby. It was a 76th anniversary the other day of Doby breaking the color barrier in the American League. So he wrote the Hall of Famer's number 14 on his cap before Wednesday's game. I thought that was a nice gesture by Terry Francona. Dodgers' Daniel Hudson returns to the DL after spraining his right MCL. Hudson has had a rebirth as a pitcher, as a reliever. Pitched first half of his career, he was a starter and a pretty good one for a while, and then he's had a rebirth after having a downturn as a starter, if you will. Jimmy Cordero with the Yankees, suspended for the season, and good for him. Good for them. I think everybody knows how I feel about domestic violence. Putting your hands on a woman is not okay in any way, shape, or form. If you're getting hit by a woman, walk away. And to be consistent, I'm very happy. Excuse me. I'm very happy for Domingo Germán getting a perfect game the other night. Or a couple of weeks ago, whatever it was. I've lost track of time. I guess it was almost 2 weeks ago now. And I'm glad he's pitching well for the Yankees. The Yankees need to pitch well. But if it was up to me, he would not be on a team because 2 years ago, whenever it was, when he beat his wife or girlfriend, I'd have jettisoned him right then and there. No tolerance. You could tell me guys deserve second chances. I'll give guys second chances for drugs. I'll give guys second chances for gambling. I'll give guys second chances for anything you want. You lay on your hands on a woman, you get no respect from me. I feel that way about my sports stars. I feel that way about my friends. I've cut friends off who have done this type of thing. Not okay. What else? Ohtani left the game the other night with a blister. Listen, Ohtani could become available. It's possible. Remember, he's a free agent after the year. Mike Trout's out 2 months now with a fractured wrist. He had surgery yesterday. The Angels have really started to slow down a bit and fall out of the race. And fallen out of the race, but they're falling back in the race, if you will, for the wild card positions. We'll talk about that in a second. Outside chance. Watch these next 2 weeks. 2.5 weeks. We get to the trade deadline. If the Angels are reeling and the bottom is falling out, they may look to move Ohtani. Do the Yankees chase Ohtani if that happens? I'm not chasing him and giving up a Peraza in a trade unless I know damn sure I can trade him or sign him in the offseason. Angels risk losing him for nothing if they don't move him. And it might be time. Trout's hurt again. This looked like it was going to be the season the Angels finally made the playoffs with Mike Trout and Ohtani. It may not be. It may be for naught. We'll see. Dustin Bay is undergoing surgery for the Dodgers. He'll be out for the season. Blue Jays, Manoah gets another chance tonight. As you know, he just was awful early in the year. He went to low minors and was getting blown up. So, well, I'm not sure what they saw that makes them think he's ready. But we'll see how that goes tonight. It's going to be an interesting. It's going to be an interesting view to see how that turns out. That's kind of it in the news. We'll get around the league here now in a second. Might look at the All-Star voting first. What do you got here, Dave Guyette? You listen. You know, Dave. I know, Dave. You've watched a lot of my shows and you've seen a lot of my vlogs, and you know how I feel about Aaron Boone. He is not a good manager. I've watched Aaron Boone excuse things away for players for too long. Base running. We don't talk about base running a lot. Yankees are not good base running team. Torres the other night scored. I want to say on a botch play to first, whatever it might have been. He should not have been running for home. He scores. He got away with it. But he's running to outs right and left. He's not alone in this. But he's running to outs right and left this year and in past years. And Boone says, "Oh, you know, you take that with Glaber because he's a risk taker." But they've warned him before. He says that they've talked to him behind closed doors and said, "You've got to smarten up on the base pass." Well, he either doesn't listen, doesn't care, or Boone's not really holding these guys accountable. He certainly doesn't do it in the press. He laughs it off and says, "Oh, that's Glaber." This time it worked. Doesn't mean it was a good move. And I've had this problem with Boone forever, not holding guys accountable. Abreu's a great example last night. Abreu's out there like he's not mentally into this game. He doesn't want to be in the game because it's not a high leverage situation or whatever it is. He was awful. His body language was terrible. Boone goes out there, and if I'm Boone, I'm reading the guy the riot act right there. I'm not taking you out of this game. Players say they respect Boone, or I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. Now, I don't want to fire managers for the sake of fire managers, Dave. Don't get me wrong. But I got to tell you, how long? Yes, the Yankees won 100 games last year. How'd they do in the playoffs? They beat the Astros? Got to win. This is New York, not Kansas City. I thought they should have cut. Listen, I also had no respect for Boone, and I went off on this 2 years ago when he let them fire his entire coaching staff, basically, to keep his own job, including his best friend in baseball, Phil Nevin, who's now the manager of the Angels. Any self-respecting manager would have said, no, I'm out of here. But he lets his friends, his hand-picked coaches, get fired, including his best friend in baseball. So does that tell you how I feel about Boone, Dave? Nothing new. It's forever. Plus, he's out there just pulling the strings. I think Cashman pulls the strings. And plus, God bless Herman got the perfect game the other night. I'm sure somewhere in a card it told Boone he should take him out. It was a Monday night after 7 p.m., 10 p.m. Get him out of the game. He did it to Herman a couple weeks before, a month before, whatever. 2-0. He's up in the ninth inning. He's through 88 pitches. Takes him out. They lose the game 3-2. Stop looking at your freaking script and watch the game in front of you. And finally, you did it for Herman. Oh, sorry. You asked, Dave. Oh, God. Let's look at the standings, shall we? Now we'll get into the All-Star game a little bit. Feel free to post your topics, guys, comments, any topic you want to talk about, Dave, anything else you want to get into with the Yankees. Yankees need a lot of help. They're still 8 games behind the Rays. Don't think they're winning the division. Certainly still in the wild card race. They have, let's see, what do they got? They're a game behind the Astros right now for the top wild card spot, tied with the Blue Jays, depending on, what the tiebreakers are. Rays 4-6 in their last 10. They've lost 5 in a row. The Orioles, we talked about the Yankees blowing a golden chance to make up ground on the Orioles and on the Rays even, winning the first 2 games of the series and blowing the last 2. But the Orioles creep within 4 games now. They're only 4-6 in their last 10, but these last 2 wins get them back, from 6 back to 4 back. Blue Jays and the Yankees tied at 48-40. Blue Jays are 6-4 in their last 10. The Red Sox are 1-2 in a row. They're 5-5 in their last 10. Hanging in there. Still in the wild card race. Not sure how. It's going to be interesting to see who buys and who sells in this division. In the Central, you got a real dogfight. Teams trying to stay above 500 and in first place. The Twins and the Guardians both 6-4 in their last 10. The Twins are on a 3-game winning streak themselves. The Tigers lurking back there at 6. Nobody's going to get a wild card from here, I don't believe. Anything can happen, but I think only the winner of this division will make the playoffs. The White Sox, after a brief spurt to get themselves kind of excited and on the peripheral of the wild card chase, have fallen back to 15 games under 500, 3 losses in a row, now 3-7 in their last 10. The Royals with 4 losses in a row, 25-63. Once again, chasing the A's, half a game behind the A's for the worst record in baseball. Royals and the A's is just embarrassing, man. I still think we're going to get a record this year. 120 losses by the Mets. The 62 Mets, still the record. I think we may see that record fall this year. Maybe we'll see it fall to 2 teams. That's difficult to happen, but we'll see. The Rangers, as I said, starting to come back to the pack a little bit. 4-6 in their last 10, 2-game losing streak. Only a 2-game lead over the Astros. 6.5 over the Angels, who are reeling 3-7 in their last 10, 3 losses in a row. Astros 7-3, by the way, in their last 10. Mariners 6-4, got the 500 finally. Maybe this is the spot. They've been struggling all year to get to 500. And the A's 25-64. Going to be tough. Listen, this wild card race, let's just assume for a second Tampa wins the Central. I'm sorry, Tampa wins the Central. Tampa wins the East. You got one team coming out of the Central, and either the Rangers or the Astros are going to win the West. So you got the Orioles, the Yankees, the Jays, the Red Sox, 4 teams. The Rangers or the Astros, that's 5. The Angels is 6, and maybe the Mariners, 7 teams fighting for 3 spots. Going to be quite a race, I think, in the American League and in the National League. Just about halfway through the season, a little more than halfway now. Yankees, most everybody's played around 88 games, which is 81 is the halfway mark. So everybody's past the halfway mark. The All-Star game is always kind of the symbolic start of the second half, even though we played more games than we will play after it. But that's fine. A lot of baseball to be played. A lot of time for the Yankees to get better, but where's it coming from? Let's look over in the National League. Excuse me. In the East, the Braves continue to roll 9-1 in their last 10. They've won like 24 of their last 29, something like that. 25 out of 30. Some crazy number. There's 30 games over 500, 8.5 game lead over the very surprising Marlins, who are 13 games over 500. So they're 8.5 games over the Marlins, not the Phillies, not the Mets, the Marlins. Braves are the best team, in my mind, best team in baseball. Most balanced team. And that's what some of their best pitchers pitching well. Fried hasn't pitched. He's been hurt or ineffective. Wright hasn't pitched that well. 20-game winner last year. So the Marlins are 8.5 back. The Phillies 11 back. They've won 3 in a row again. 8-2 in their last 10. Very streaky team. Starting to hit. Nick Castellanos makes the All-Star team. Good rebound season for him. The Mets waking up with 5 wins, undefeated in July. I joked on Sunday's show about the Mets, and Steve Cohen said, well, let's build on this one win. They won on Saturday, the first day of July, obviously. And they've won every game in July, so give them credit. Some of their guys are starting to come around. Lindor's been beat up a lot. His batting average is really low at 233, I think. But his OPS is pretty good. It's almost 790, pushing 800. He's got pop. He's at 18 home runs, and he's a really good defensive shortstop. So he's not a black hole out there. Alfonso's got to raise his average, but he's obviously got the pop in his bat. The guys who are really hurting this team on offense, Marte, who's gotten a little warmer lately, and McNeil. They can't afford, with McNeil's defensive deficiencies in the field, he's not a great second baseman. He's not a great left fielder when he plays out there. He doesn't have a lot of pop. He's only got, a dozen doubles and a couple of 3 home runs. Him hitting 250-ish is not getting it done. Jeff McNeil with a 330 on-base percentage. If Jeff McNeil's not hitting 310 with a 360 on-base percentage, he's not helping you on offense. Remember, he won the batting title last year. Mets with a long ways to go, but some signs of life. And they're not quitting. I'll give them that. They haven't rolled over and quit. A lot of veterans on this team, a lot of guys going to the Hall of Fame. Two leading that pitching staff. If they can pitch to their history in the second half or close to it, this team could be reckoned with yet. With that said, they're not winning the division. They're 17 games behind. The Reds, 8-2 again, 5 in a row. The Reds out of nowhere, 10 games over 500. The kids are just doing it. De La Cruz has been unbelievable since he came up. To go along with some other rookies that we talked about in the past. We talked about Andrew Abbott and the pitching staff. We've talked about Matt McLean, who was up before De La Cruz playing shortstop. We thought De La Cruz was going to play short. He's been playing third base mostly. We thought McLean may slide to second base. India become a super sub. This team can hit the baseball. Joey Votto's back from injury. Pitching will be this team's Achilles heel, if you will. Going to have to go out and make a move for a pitcher or two. But kudos to the Reds. You know, a couple weeks ago, I would not have said anybody in the Central had a shot at a wild card. Well, now the Reds or the Brewers have got a shot. Reds lead the Brewers by 2, but 47-41. If the playoffs started today, the Brewers would be tied for the last wild card spot. The Cubs, the Pirates, quickly playing themselves out of contention, which is not shocking. This Cubs team very poorly put together. Cody Bellinger going to be on the Yankee radar. Dave Guyette, watch out for Cody Bellinger. I think Cody Bellinger would be he's a good defensive outfielder. If he can stay healthy, continue the resurging year that he's had this year, you keep Bader healthy, you get Judge healthy, things could change in the Bronx. Any prediction on who goes to the World Series? No, it's not too early. Hell, we're halfway through the season. Before the season, I said it would be the Astros and the Braves in a rematch of 2 years ago. And I'm going to stick with it. The Astros have not hit. The Astros have barely hit. And they've got themselves at 10 games over. Altuve's on the DL now. Going to hurt him again. They struggled to replace him early in the year. They're 10 games over 500, 2 games out of first place. This team knows how to win in a postseason. So I'm sticking with the Astros and the Braves. And I had picked the Astros to repeat and Dusty get his second World Series victory in consecutive years. But I'm going to change that up, and I'm going to take the Braves over the Astros right now. Braves are clicking on all cylinders. And they still haven't had all the I guess I just contradicted myself because I said they're clicking on all cylinders, but they still got a couple pitchers in Wright and Fried who haven't really stepped it up yet. 2 of their best pitchers. Fried's one of the better pitchers in the league. Acuna's a monster, though. Acuna's, if he doesn't get hurt, he's going to hit 40 home runs and steal 70 bases probably. Back to the Central, we said the Pirates and the Cardinals, by the way, they made a brief run, similar to White Sox, made a brief run trying to get back into contention, fall right backwards. Out west, things are getting interesting, really interesting. The Diamondbacks have slipped a little bit, similar to the Rangers, one of the best stories of the year. Now, if Carroll's hurt, Corbin Carroll's out for any period of time, it will hurt this team a lot. They need pitchers. They've had really good seasons out of Zach Gallion and what's the other kid's name? Merrill Kelly, who's now on the DL. They really need to bring in a couple of starters. They need a couple of guys to really. Hopefully, Kelly comes back and they get healthy. But that a little, and maybe an outfielder, maybe a veteran outfielder to help. A lot of kids out there. Carroll, who's injured, as we said. Alec Thomas, Jake McCarthy struggled a little bit. Lourdes Gurriel's played well, mostly a DH, but he can play in that outfield. I think you're going to see this team be very active in the trade deadline, looking for starting pitching, and I think a veteran outfielder would probably help this team along a lot. They're getting chased by the Dodgers, though. The Dodgers just won't go away, even though their pitchers continue to get hurt. Kershaw goes on a DL. Next man up. 11 games over 500. Half game behind the Diamondbacks now. The Giants, even though they've struggled a bit of late, 3-7, a couple of losses to the Mets in the last week. But they're still only 2.5 games out of first, tied for that last wild card spot. Padres, we keep waiting for them to get hot. They won 3 in a row now. That still leaves them 5 games under 500, 8.5 out of first, 6 out of the wild card, which is not undoable with 70-some games left, 75 games left. But another team that just can't seem to get out of its own way. They got a plus 35 run differential. They're 5 games under 500. Not easy to do. The Reds have a -7, and they're 10 games over. And the Rockies are the Rockies. When are the Rockies going to sell at the deadline? They never seem to make any trades, and they never seem to get any good. Just not a good effort by this team. Dave, busy today. The Braves are playing great baseball, by the way. Yeah, I know Ian had a tough year last year. Ian Anderson, Dave's talking about his cousin Ian Anderson went to Shenandoah. Forgetting where he went to college now. South Carolina? Can't remember. But he was a positive force for that team 2 years ago as they drove to the World Series championship. Last year he struggled, got sent to the minors, and subsequently has had arm surgery. He'll be out for a while. But the Braves are just loaded. Braves are loaded. Braves have got a really good manager. They've got Dave, as I said, they've got the best balanced team, I think, in baseball. When you look at the lineup, you look at the bench, you look at the defense, you look at the pitching staff, starting and bullpen. Braves are going to be very tough. And as I said, they've won like 25 of their last 30. Remarkable run by the Braves. And they've run away from that division. Boredom might be the only thing that can catch the Braves right now. What's your prediction, Dave? I'll give you my prediction for the Yankees. Yankees losing the ALCS to the Astros. Seen this movie before. Couple, 3 times. Don't tell me the Astros steal signs either. This team did not lose to the Astros in 2017 because they were stealing signs. They lost because they couldn't hit elite pitching. End of story. So frustrating, right? No, and look at Dave. You may think that they did cheat. Everybody's cheating. Everybody's stealing signs. Just saying. Let's look at the All-Star Game roster quickly, and then we'll see if there's anything else we want to look at quickly. The American League starters. I'll give you both starting teams here. In the American League, Jonah Heim from the Rangers, really having a breakout season. Alan Perales, one of our great viewers and another contributor to Let's Talk Sports. And again, we welcome all our viewers on Let's Talk Sports, and I forgot to mention at the top as I was playing around with the video. I apologize to Dan Harris and the network. But Alan Perales, who again is a great contributor to Let's Talk Sports, and as I said, one of the great followers on my team, big Ranger fan. I poo-pooed the Rangers. I poo-pooed Jonah Hyam, and he's had a great year. I still think the Rauschman should be the starter here, but it's really kind of just flip a coin. Yandy Diaz from the Rays has had a very good year. He'll be starting at first base. The Rays don't have a lot of guys, one starter. Rangers with a lot. Marcus Semien will play at second base. Josh Young at third base. Corey Seager at shortstop. Aaron Judge will not play. Obviously, he's been hurt. Mike Trout now is out. He will not play. He is hurt. Randy Arozarena from the Rays in the outfield. Ohtani, the DH, and maybe the starter again. Who knows? And Dusty Baker will be the manager. We'll talk a little bit about the reserves in a second. Yeah, let's stick with that. Let's stick with the reserves. We'll come back to the National League. Salvador Perez for the Royals, maybe a trade candidate. He's been with the Royals his entire career. He may not want to leave, but he could really help a contender in this pennant race. Adley Rutschman from the Orioles, as we said, was also named as a reserve. Flip a coin between him and Heim. Vlad Guerrero, not a typical Vlad year, but good enough to make the All-Star team. He'll be a reserve at first base. Whit Merrifield, I don't think he's played that well. But, you look at what he contributes at several positions, somebody values him. He makes the team. At second base, Bo Bichette having a great year for the Blue Jays at shortstop. Jose Ramirez, a perennial all-star, just a professional hitter, great leader for that Indian team. Team formerly known as the Indians. Wander Franco replaces Aaron Judge. Wander Franco should have been on this team without being a replacement, by the way. He's had a great year for the Rays. Louis Robert possibly might miss this game, but so far he's in. Austin Hayes for the Orioles in the outfield. Jordan Alvarez was injured, and he will not play either. He was named as a reserve. Adolis Garcia coming into his own with the Rangers, playing much better this year. I faulted his approach at the plate, his on-base percentage. He's improved tremendously over last year, and he's a good defensive player. Julio Rodriguez will replace Jordan Alvarez. Down year for J-Rod after a breakout season last year. And Kyle Tucker will replace, the Astros will replace Mike Trout. And Brent Rooker makes it from the Athletics. We'll go to the National League in a second. Let's take a look here at Dave Guyette's comment here. Probably the highlight for the Yankees this season will be the perfect game. Well, if it is, Dave, we're not going to be happy come October. If that's the highlight, I wouldn't be shocked if it is. Look, at getting to the American League Championship game again would not be a total loss of a season, but Brian Cashman's got to stop putting together the same exact team year after year and expecting different results. Let's look at the National League starters. Sean Murphy from the Braves, key man in that three-way trade between the A's, the Brewers, and the Braves. Former Brave, current Dodger, Freddie Freeman will start at first. Luis Arraez. Where's Drew when I need him? For the Marlins, theoretically chasing 400. It was at 387, I think, when I looked this morning. Going to be very tough to do, but you never know. He'll start at second base. Nolan Ariendo will start at third base. Arcia for the Braves. Acuna for the Braves. Arcia at shortstop. Acuna in the outfield. Obviously, Mookie Betts for the Dodgers in the outfield. Corbin Carroll now most likely will be replaced. He was voted a starter in the outfield. J.D. Martinez voted the DH. Rob Thompson of the Phillies. the man who should be managing the Yankees. I said this when Aaron Boone was hired. Rob Thompson got a cursory interview, should have been the next Yankee manager at that point in time. Not revisionist history, by the way, guys. The position players. Reserves, excuse me. Oh, I didn't name the I never named the American League. I'll go back to the American League pitchers. I forgot the American League pitchers. The National League position players. Will Smith at catcher. Elias Diaz from the Rockies. You got to name it. So one guy from every team. Hate that rule because how does Elias Diaz make the All-Star team? Matt Olson, first base for the Braves. Pete Alonso for the Mets. Ozzie Albies for the Braves. Austin Riley, great young player for the Braves. Dansby Swanson, former Brave, current Cub, shortstop. Lourdes Gurriel having a nice year for the Diamondbacks. Nick Castellanos, so I said nice bounce back year for the Phillies in the outfield. Juan Soto for the Padres. Are the Padres going to actually sign him? They gave up a boatload, and we still have had no talks about long-term contract for Soto. And George Soler for the Marlins got off to a horrible start this year. Has been named to the bench. The pitchers for the National League, I'll get to the American League in a second because I skipped them. Zach Gallion, who we just talked about with the D-backs. Spencer Strider, great young pitcher for the Braves. The Braves are just loaded with great young pitchers. Now you know why Anderson, unfortunately, got sent to the minor leagues last year when he was struggling. Because they've got starting pitching coming out of their rear end. Bryce Elder for the Braves. Great young relief pitcher. Justin Steele for the Cubs. Mitch Keller for the Pirates. Joshua Gray for the Nationals. Clayton Kershaw, he's injured and will not pitch. Marcus Stroman for the Cubs, having a great year. Alexis Diaz. Josh Hader for the Padres. Devin Williams for the Brewers. Camilo Doval for the Giants. David Bednar for the Pirates replaces Clayton Kershaw. You notice, as has been the trend, lots of relief pitchers. For the American League, I forgot about this. Ohtani from the Angels, also named as a pitcher. He's unlikely to pitch, by the way, because he has a finger issue at the moment. Garrett Cole for the Yankees, of course. Luis Castillo. Maybe George Kirby should have made it over him. And he has been named as a replacement player, Kirby, to replace Shane Callahan for the Rays. Sonny Gray for the Twins. Nathan Eovaldi for the Rangers, having a tremendous year. Better year than I would have ever expected him to have. Great job for him. Congratulations to him. Kevin Gausman for the Blue Jays. Shane McClanahan, as I mentioned, for the Rays, injured and will not play, replaced by George Kirby. Framber Valdez from the Astros. Michael Lorenz from the Tigers. Kensley Jansen from the Red Sox. Emmanuel Class from the Guardians. Felix Bautista from the Orioles. And Yenner Cano from the Orioles. Lots of relief pitchers, as we talked about, and that's the trend here. Money doesn't always win championships. Good point, Dave. I mean, look at it. Doesn't hurt. But look at the teams that have the biggest payrolls in baseball. The Yankees, the Mets, the Dodgers, the Phillies, the Red Sox. Not a ton of World Series. The Red Sox have the most World Series out of that whole group. Braves have a pretty decent payroll. They won recently. The Astros isn't chicken feed. But you had some teams in recent past win. The Royals were a great example in the middle of the teens, the 20 teens, of a team that didn't have the highest payroll and went to back-to-back World Series and won one of them. Over the Mets. What else is going on we can talk about here today? What other topics you got, Dave? Or anybody else that's with us? Major League Draft coming up this week. Be interesting to see that. You'll see that during the All-Star break. It gets a little quiet. After Sunday, we got the Home Run Derby. If you care about the Home Run Derby on Monday, you got the game on Tuesday, and I don't think any baseball till Friday. So you have to fill it up with the draft and and some other stuff. Let's take a look at, since we're talking about the schedule coming up, let's take a look at this weekend's matchups, shall we? A couple of good ones. Some really good ones. Atlanta at Tampa Bay. They'll kick off with Charlie Morton against Tyler Glasnow, who struggled a bit since coming off the DL. That game will be at 6:40 tonight. It'll be on Apple TV if you have that. Philadelphia at Miami. Big series for the Phillies in my mind. They're playing really good baseball. The Marlins have been in front of them for a good part of this season. Zach Wheeler against a disappointing Sandy Alcantara. Toronto goes to Detroit. It'll be Alex Manoah, as I said. Big start for him, trying to rebound after a horrendous start to the year and then getting sent to the low minors and still pitching bad against Felix Fadio. The Cubs will be at the Yankees this weekend. They'll start off with former Yankee James Taillon against Carlos Rondon. Finally, a Rondon sighting on July 7th. Pitched okay in his rehab assignments. Still think this was a bad signing by the Yankees. Let's hope for their sake, because they need this guy to pitch well and be consistent. Texas will go to Washington. He'll try to get healthy. It'll be Cody Bradford against Trevor Williams tonight to start it off. Kansas City will be at Cleveland. Tonight it's Daniel Lynch against Aaron Saval. Oakland, it goes to Boston. Luis Medina against Brennan Bernardino. Baltimore and Minnesota, a bit of an interesting matchup there. I think Cole Irvin and Bailey Ober started off tonight. The Reds and Brewers. Remember, you don't play as many games in your division as you used to because of this stupid new balanced schedule. Every one of these games are going to matter for these teams fighting for division leads. Cincinnati will take a 2-game lead to Milwaukee tonight. It'll be Andrew Abbott, the great rookie, against Corbin Burns, one of the better pitchers in baseball when he's healthy. Seattle will go to Houston, another huge series. Seattle finally getting to 500, needs to keep something going. Houston wants to keep that momentum going and the pressure on the Rangers. It'll be Luis Castillo against Hunter Brown tonight. St. Louis will go to Chicago, and who are you going to pay to go see this game? Jordan Montgomery, former Yankee, against Dylan Cease. The Pirates will go to Arizona. Rich Hill and Zach Gallion. Rich Hill, who graduated a year behind me in high school. The Mets will go to San Diego. Two of the most disappointing teams in baseball, if not the most. The Cardinals are probably the most. Will match up in San Diego. They just matched up in New York not too long ago. They'll start off with Justin Verlander and Yu Darvish. Angels and the Dodgers in the Expressway Series. Griffin Canning against Tony Gonsolin. Trout out, as we know, for the Angels, and also Ohtani not able to pitch to his abilities because of finger injury. And the Rockies will go to San Francisco. Austin Gumber against Ross Stripling. What do you got, Dave Guyette? I am not on tomorrow morning. Tomorrow's Saturday. I'm on Sunday morning. The Stream of Consciousness show will be at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. We go to 10:30. We'll talk baseball, NFL, some NHL. We'll get Jim Bering around to talk about the NHL draft, as he wasn't available last week. We'll try to get him this week. And we'll talk about everything in the world of sports coming up for sure. Make sure you join us next. We're going to regroup, not next week, but the week after. We likely will start up the college football huddle again as we're getting close to that time. Dave will talk some Syracuse Orangemen for sure. All you can watch all these shows, all my shows. You can see, of course, on TGI Sports Talk. We'll certainly have the shows. Some of the shows go live to Northeast Stream Sports. All of them go live to Let's Talk Sports, and we'll be starting up the one-on-one series again pretty soon. The interview show, which we've had to put on hiatus as I was getting ready to move and a lot of time unavailable. You were thinking today was Thursday? Yeah, I would have been on. We were on this morning at 8 o'clock. Yes, Dave. That's okay. Believe me, I think I'm older than you, Dave. I lose track of the days all the time, so I get it. Guys, I think that's going to wrap it up for today. Any last comments, you can feel free to throw them up there, but I'm going to sign out. Say, remember to check us out 8:30 a.m. on Sunday with our Sunday Stream of Consciousness. We'll be live here on TGI Sports Talk. We'll be live on Northeast Streaming Sports. Let's Talk Sports. You can catch us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You can catch us live, or you can see us at any point on demand on any of those outlets. And we'll have a great time. We'll have Jim Beringer in. We'll take your comments because Sunday is your show. Guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for participating. Dave, great questions today. Hope I didn't pitch off too much with some of my comments about the Astros not cheating, but that's just the way it is. But thanks for TGI Sports Talks Major League Baseball update. Have a great weekend. Go get them, Yankees.